again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. Today I'm going to touch a little on double thumb technique. Now you probably all know what double thumbing is by now. It's a variation on the traditional slap style where instead of playing just a downstroke like this, we add an upstroke like this, which means we get a lot more mileage out of that single slap thumb motion. But this is one of those techniques that people tend to find really difficult when they first try getting started. So I'm just going to give you a really simple riff today just to help with isolating and developing the basics of this technique. So the riff is going to sound like this. 2, 3, 4. Remember, as always, the tab and sheet music is all available to download from Talkingbass.net, so just follow the link in the info below or follow the card. Download the PDF and you can follow along. So, in learning this riff, it's worth trying it without the double thumb first. So if we do that, the riff's going to sound like this. 2, 3, 4. Okay? So let's learn that riff first. So the riff's in G minor and we begin with a G, 3rd fret of the E string, and we just slap that twice. So we're on 1 and then the and of 2. So we're going to have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? So that's the timing. You want to get that first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you have any problems, just take the timing right down and just make sure you're hitting on the 1 and the end of 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? So I went through it really quick then, but you want to slow it right down, get your timing right, and then just build up speed. Now let's add those pops in there. So the first pop is in the first bar and it's an F, 3rd fret of the D string, and it's on beat 4. So all together that first bar sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, round and round. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now a little technical tip, I'd use the first finger for fretting the G there on the E string, so that's your index finger, but then for the F, that pop there, I'd use the second finger, middle finger. It just helps with coming back to the G in the second bar, because otherwise you're going to have to hop off there and come back. So if I'm playing with the first finger, I've got to come off and then come back down. So second finger just means that we can easily come backwards and forwards. So just a little technical tip there. For the second bar, exactly the same thing. We play the F, which this time we can play with the first finger. But we're going to have a hammer on from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. So it's F to G. Okay? So that second bar sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so it's 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let's put the two bars together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. A little quicker. Now, here's the key to nailing the double thumb technique. You have to stop the bounce with the thumb slap. Now, if you've never double thumbed before or tried to double thumb, and especially if you're into guys like Mark King, you will have probably spent a lot of time bouncing the thumb, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, a lot of the Mark King stuff, it really relies on that bounce. Now, with double thumbing, we can't allow that bounce because it won't it won't allow us to come back with the upstroke. So you'll see what I mean when we play this. What we have to do is use what I've called rest stroke, okay? So I've never seen a name for it. It's what everybody does when they double thumb, but I've just never seen a name for it. So they always say strike through. Well, I like to call it rest stroke because it's very similar to the rest stroke that we use when we finger pick. So when you play a note there with that finger and it comes to rest on the next string, that's what we're doing with the thumb. So if we take a G there, third fret of the E string, and instead of bouncing like this and allowing the thumb to bounce back off, what we're going to do is play through. So it's a little bit like playing with a pick. So we're going to slap through and we're going to let the thumb come to rest on the A string, okay? So, and if you want to make it sound a little bit more slappy, a bit more percussive, then just cut the note off. Okay, so that's the rest stroke. We're striking through the string and coming to rest on the A string. And you can hear it's still a slap. That's the bounce. That's the rest stroke. It's just that the rest stroke's got a little bit more body to it, which I expand upon in some of the other double thumb lessons. But for now, just try nailing that rest stroke. So now you want to try the riff that we just played, but with rest stroke. Now, some of you might have been using rest stroke already. It might be just the natural way that you play. But if not, if you're used to bouncing, try it with the rest stroke. So, 3 and 4 and. Look at my thumb there. I'm coming to rest on that A string. And actually, when I actually come for the pop, the thumb is already in place there. I've kind of got this action where I strike through, the thumb's there, and then the finger pops out. There's actually a lot less movement in that sense. Okay, so just practice that riff round and round for a few times until you can really nail it with rest stroke. Next, let's add the upstroke there with the thumb, and hey presto, we should have double thumbing. So let's try on a G there, third fret of the E string again. So rest stroke, and when you've come to rest on that A string, just let the thumb come back. And you want to be catching it, the string that is, with the corner edge of the thumbnail. Now, I've hardly got any nails, so I know how it can be if you don't have much nail there. But even I can still do that, and I have really, really short nails. If you've got long nails, or like regular old nails, it'll probably seem really, really simple. But it is the edge of that thumb. Don't try and do it with the skin edge of the thumb, because you're likely to give yourself bad blisters. So you come through, and then just come back up and hook that string with the thumb nail. And it's a very relaxed action. Just let it come through and then just, lightly just let it come back up. If you catch it right, you should still get kind of equal or even more of a snap on the upstroke. You really want to aim for even velocity, really. Now, don't worry about playing, consistently like that. All we're looking for is 2 strikes. That's all. Just play it in isolation. And if you can't play it fast, just play it slow. And you might have to experiment a little with the thumb just to get it in there, or the action that is, just to get it right so that you're catching it with the edge of the thumbnail. This might be very alien to you because you've been so used to playing a different way with the slapping. You really have to change the way that you look at it. But once you've got it, you've got it, and you just build it all into your muscle memory. So, just try it in isolation. So once you've played around with that upstroke, playing that G in isolation, we can start to add it into the riff. So let's have a listen to the riff with the double thumbing fairly slowly. 3, 4, and. Okay, and one thing that you might have noticed there, just to give it a little bit more feel, is on the second and third times, I started putting a few little ghost notes in there, or just a bang, percussive bang in there, just on a couple of the, just filling in around there, just so that you get more of that backbeat. So, you know, I'm just coming down there just to give a bit more momentum and feel for the beat. So you can see there that in terms of the technique side of things, it's exactly what we've just been playing. You know, just with that G that we played in isolation, we're just adding it in there on each of the Gs in the riff. Simple as that. If you have any problems with that riff, just slow it right down and then just gradually build up speed. And don't build up speed until you've nailed it at the slower tempo, okay? You want to aim for control with the thumb. You don't want to just have this messy rhythm with it. You really want to feel control there. So, you could try it slowly. Build up a bit more speed. And a bit quicker. And that's the riff, so just play round and round on it until you get that action down. Might be a little bit weird at first if you're used to bouncing, but eventually you'll get it. Now, it's worth mentioning that I talk about this technique and every other area of slapping in the Simple Steps to Slapping course over at talkingbass.net. So just follow the link in the info below or in the cards to be taken to that. And, you know, that goes through from the absolute basics of slapping all the way to advanced fills and double thumbing. So if you like the way that I teach and need some help progressing, be sure to give that a try. Okay? I'll see you later.